ちが命久しぶりだなサスケ
Hi folks, I'm Brenda, and I have a very creepy story about how I met my exact double. My father monitored and developed my channel. But over time, surprise, started growing up. And the kinds of videos he wanted to make just stopped being interesting to me. Plus, he still wanted to control and manage everything, like when I was a little girl, even though I was already 16 years old. Obviously, that kind of strict control wasn't going to go anywhere good, so I wanted to get out from under him as soon as possible. As soon as I turned 18, I moved from our town to Los Angeles, where I thought I could develop my career the way I wanted to. Of course, my father was very offended that I left, and I was upset with him for always trying to control my life. So we stopped talking. Left to my own devices, I was finally able to start developing my channel. I shot beauty vlogs, challenges, and started writing my own songs. Since I changed the format abruptly, I lost a large chunk of my audience. I still had about 500,000 subscribers, which wasn't exactly bad, because most of my dedicated fans stayed with me. I'm not saying I was some kind of superstar, but people did recognize me on the street. They would come up to me asking for an autograph or a selfie. I really liked my small amount of popularity. One evening, when I was running in the park, a guy ran up to me. He began to wave his hand to stop me. It was no big deal for me to stop and take a photo with a fan, but I didn't want to interrupt my workout either. I stopped, saw the phone in his hand, and quickly grabbed it to take a selfie. The weird thing was that in the picture, his face was, to put it mildly, surprised. Of course you don't meet a celebrity in the park every day. I returned his phone to him and ran on. But the guy ran after me for some reason. He shouted after me that he was wrong and asked me for forgiveness, and then completely shouted that he wanted to be with me. I got really scared and sped up just to get away from this madman. Since I went running every day, he quickly got tired and stopped chasing me. I ran home and closed the door behind me in a hurry. My heart wouldn't stop pounding, and I urgently needed to share it with someone. I opened my profile and immediately told my subscribers what happened. The comments varied. Many wrote that I was very lucky that I managed to escape. One subscriber joked that I probably have a twin I don't know about. Another replied to her that it wasn't a laughing matter and that my exact double was studying at her college. She even attached a link to this double. This was all really interesting. I immediately clicked on the link and went to her page. I was numb with shock. It was me. The nose, lips, ears, and even the shape of the eyes were exactly like mine. The only thing that distinguished her was her personality. From her expression and posture, you could tell she was shy and closed off. I was so overwhelmed that I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about that girl and what my subscribers said about me having a twin. What if Dad really had another daughter? He never talked to me about my mother. What if they suddenly had a fight and my mother took her other daughter, my twin? Well, you know how it goes in movies. I should have called my dad and just asked, but I was still very upset with him and couldn't stand to be the first one to reach out. So I decided I would find out everything on my own. A few more days went by, and I tried to forget about this stupid idea that I had a secret sister, but I couldn't. I was literally obsessed. As I got dressed, I tried to choose the most inconspicuous outfit I could. I even used makeup to disguise myself. Why? So I could go to that college and see my double. Several hours passed before my double finally came through the doors of the college. To be honest, I thought I would see her and understand that she just happened to look a bit like me. But no, she definitely looked just like me. I followed my doppelganger a couple of blocks until she entered a cafe. Then I went home, realizing that I wasn't ready to approach her yet. What could I tell her? Hi, you don't know me, but we're sisters. Ugh, that's nonsense. Back at home, I was sitting in front of my laptop. I'd already thought about the whole situation a good 300 times. On the screen was my sister, Brittany. We even have similar names. This was definitely not a coincidence. With shaking fingers, I typed a message where I offered to meet her. Then I immediately closed the laptop, afraid that she would think I was crazy. The next morning, I was able to find the strength to check for what her answer was. Brittany wrote that now she, too, was just as shocked as I was, and that we must meet. She even suggested a place. I went to the same cafe where I saw Brittany. She came in a couple of minutes later. We, like morons, first looked at each other for a long time, then tried to copy each other's movements. We waved our hands, twisted our heads. Even this we did almost simultaneously. It felt like I was looking in the mirror. I decided to break the long silence, saying how strange this situation was. Brittany agreed with me, but it seemed she was afraid to develop the conversation. All of this was probably scaring her. Then I took the initiative. I told her that it wasn't just a coincidence and that we were twins. Our dad was hiding a secret from us. Brittany replied that she grew up in an orphanage where she was told that her father abandoned her. My feelings were tearing me apart from the inside. Sadness. After all, I dreamed of meeting my mother. Anger. How could my father do this to his own daughter? But the most important thing was shame, because my father chose me and abandoned Brittany. I was finally convinced that Brittany is my sister. Looking at her shyness and embarrassment, I suddenly wanted to take care of her. That day we chatted for a long time. I told her about my dad and she listened closely. I showed her the most beautiful places in the city and treated her to the most delicious ice cream, in my opinion. But Brittany, for some reason, wasn't happy. She looked as if she blamed herself for something. That was strange. We should be blaming our dad. Speaking of him, I wanted to call him and express everything I was thinking, but I pulled myself together and stopped myself. I just didn't want to hear his voice anymore. I hated him so much now. The next day, I met with Brittany again, and she looked guilty. Again. I decided to cheer her up and tell her about the strange guy in the park. Brittany was very surprised. It turned out that it was her ex. The memory of her boyfriend made her even sadder than before. Then I got a really cool idea. I called a taxi and I took her to my place. First, I showed her around my apartment, and then I offered to shoot a joint video with her. I turned on the camera and recorded the story with Brittany for my subscribers. We said that the story with the double was over, and the sisters were finally together. Surprisingly, the views were increasing every minute, and my PMs were bursting with messages. I decided not to waste time answering them and spend it with my sister instead. Something was seriously bothering her. I very carefully asked what was wrong with Brittany. She, plucking up her courage, said that things were very difficult for her right now, especially now that she broke up with her boyfriend. Now she has to pay her own rent and tuition fees. Brittany said she probably wouldn't have been in this situation if our father hadn't left her. The last words really touched me, and again, I felt a sense of guilt. It seemed to me that her fate could have turned out quite differently if our father had kept her in my place. Oof. Now there was only one thing I could do to help her. I walked into my room and came back with a couple stacks of $100 bills. If you're wondering, there were about $100,000 in there. I figured I could help my sister and at the same time make amends. Brittany was shocked. She was clearly very uncomfortable accepting this money, but she still took it. She said that it would help her a lot and thanked me. When she left, I decided to read the comments under the video. Some of my subscribers were very happy for us. Some hated my father. And some were very surprised that I accepted her as a sister so easily. They suggested that I should have done a DNA test. But I found that suggestion very stupid and also offensive to my sister. Even if I wanted to do a test, how could I tell her about it? What would I do? Cut off her hair discreetly? I sat down in a chair. Suddenly, I was overcome with doubt. What if my subscribers are right? Then who did I just give $100,000 to? And most importantly, who did I let into my life? Oh, I wanted to find out everything now. But since I didn't have her DNA for the test, I had only one way out. my father. I was on the phone about to call him when suddenly the screen showed an incoming call from him. He asked if I was alone now, and I answered yes. Dad said he just watched my video, and he thought it was some kind of prank. Then I got even angrier and expressed everything I thought about him. Dad said that he had only one daughter, and that was me. He asked me to immediately contact the police. I said that I would do it now. Dad added that he missed me very much. You can probably imagine how shocked I was. Who was this damn Brittany? And why was she pretending to be my sister? Why does she look the same as me? I didn't call the police and did what I always did. I edited a revealing video where I told everything that happened and what I thought about Brittany. The next morning when I was running in the park, I saw that she was running towards me, my fake. I didn't want to hear her. I didn't want to know her story. So I didn't even think to stop or slow down. But Brittany ran alongside me. She said that she was very ashamed. She didn't want to deceive anyone, and that she really did grow up in an orphanage where she was constantly bullied because she was ugly. Very. The only thing that helped her hold on was my videos. She's been watching me since she was a kid. When she grew up, she decided to change her life and dared to undergo plastic surgery. Brittany was a fan of mine, and I was her beauty ideal, which is why she chose my appearance. Brittany dreamed of meeting me and was overjoyed when I wrote to her. She didn't want to deceive me, but at that point, she finally felt needed, and she liked the feeling. She was afraid that I would stop talking to her if she told me the truth. Brittany was already gasping for breath as she ran after me. However, she continued her story. She borrowed a large amount to pay for the surgery, and now she's having financial difficulties. She didn't ask for money, but when she saw it, she simply couldn't help but take it. Brittany was running out of breath. She couldn't run anymore and stopped, trying to draw more air into her lungs. She watched me leave her behind, expecting me to stop. But I ran away in silence, with tears streaming down my face. Do you think I should have stopped? After all, Brittany slandered my father, took my money, and most importantly, stole my face. Write your answers in the comments, and subscribe to the channel.